Welcome everybody to this week's webinar called Survive and Revive. This is brought to you by the NCSG and the CSIA to try to help the entire industry. All sweeps are welcome. We're here for you. And this week we have a wonderful panel, and it's going to be hosted by none other than John Meredith. So everybody please welcome John, and let's have another great webinar.
Thanks, Jasper. I really appreciate you and your leadership, and Chuck Roythouse and the CSIA and everything you guys are doing to keep us strong during these, what I think most of us would agree are challenging times. So just want to welcome everybody to the discussion today. I think you'll find it very valuable, and hopefully you'll glean some things out of it. You'll walk away from this short time that we have together with some solid ways that you can grow your business. So just want to talk a little bit about housekeeping before we get started. Question, if you scroll down over the bottom of your window, your Zoom window, you'll see that there's a Q&A box in the middle. If you want to ask questions, we're going to be looking at that today. So we'll pause and ask questions along the way. So I want to start by showing you a couple of things that I think will help you, and we'll talk about how some of these guys are teeing up virtual assessments, how some sweeps are using it to grow their business. So just want to, what I think's going on out there is a lot of people are kind of looking for ways to engage your company in a low risk way. So there's a little economic insecurity out there. Recent polls have shown that many people kind of expect that their finances are going to be tight for the next couple of months. People seem to be holding on to cash and toilet paper a little bit more than they were in the past. Those who may have called you normally, maybe they're not calling you now. Some are a little more concerned about having service providers in their homes. And, it's harder to sit down with them once you do an inspection to share your findings. So today I just want to show you how some sweeps are pushing back by leveraging their digital assets to capture more leads, and from their website by using chat and by using virtual assessments to turn some of the lookers into buyers before their competitors do, and how they can use virtual assessments to qualify leads and improve some of their operational efficiencies. A virtual assessment does not replace a level 1 or level 2 inspection. But a lot of companies are starting to get traction by offering virtual chimney assessments. Don't get hung up on the technology, because many of you are already asking customers just to maybe send you a photograph or two and to kind of pre-qualify jobs. So this is simply just a way to kind of take it to the next level. So why should you consider adding virtual assessments to your services? Well, I think there's actually a couple of really good reasons that you should consider. First is what we've seen in the last couple of months. People are really embracing technology like they never have before. As you look at the Zoom platform, there's been 10 million Zoom meetings in December of 2019. In March of 2020, there was 200 million Zoom meetings. I probably did maybe 6 Zoom meetings all year, 2019. I probably do 3 a day now in the last couple of months. That didn't even include, like some of the other platforms out there, like Microsoft Team, GoToWebinar, WebEx. I mean, when you add it all up, people are embracing this kind of technology like never before. And Amazon is just year-over-year increase, has seen a 65% increase compared to March of 2019. And 13% of those people are what they consider new customers, or customers that haven't bought in the last 6 months. And then if you look at telemedicine, only about 10% of patients ever use telemedicine. Now that we're seeing increases from 70 to 158% in March of 2020. So people are really embracing virtual technology. So I think it's important to understand that. And a second, we've seen a lot of people that are looking for low risk ways to engage our services. So people are a little more, because they're spending more time at home, they're having a little more time to investigate things, and they may be noticing things that they didn't notice before because their social calendars got flattened. And so they might be sitting around the house, maybe, noticing things that, and maybe coming up with ideas for projects that they want to, get started on and fix. So, maybe, so picture this. I'm spending more time at home. My social calendar has been flattened. Maybe I'm noticing things around the house I didn't really have time to pay attention to before. And because of all the rain, let's say I see a slight yellow stain next to the chimney on my ceiling. So I go outside, I might notice that there's some missing mortar or a brick missing or some staining. So I come in and I Google chimney repair near me, and a number of companies come up, and I see one with tons of great reviews, so I click on their website. If you click on their website, maybe they put a pop-up. I notice a lot of people are putting pop-ups on their website to tell about their no contact service systems, and maybe in virtual chimney assessment. So I may take a few pictures, upload them to the website, send them off. It's just a great way to engage a service business without having to call, without having to have somebody in my house. Maybe I can learn something without the risk of having somebody in my house. So you look at the pics, maybe you schedule a Zoom meeting with them, you ask a few more questions, you gather some information, and offer some solutions, tell them about all the wonderful things that your company does to solve these problems. So, so I want to just make you aware of this. So what happens is, if somebody's thinking of it, this is the educational spectrum. So what happens in this process is the prospect first gets the idea that he might need your service. He starts gathering information here. You might ask friends, maybe he does a little more fact finding. He narrows the choices, and then he makes a decision, and then he makes a call, waits for the timing to be right. Maybe he's going to be on vacation. Maybe he's waiting on a stimulus check or something like that. Then it's scheduled and the services provided and money changes hands. So what we want to do is we want to try to engage people in ways that they like to be engaged as early in the process as possible, and kind of walk them through the educational spectrum. So bottom line here is I want to tee Lee up. Lee has been using virtual assessments for about 18 months. I talked to a lot of people in teeing up this webinar, and Lee has by far had more experience with it than anybody. I noticed in the last 30, 40 days, a lot of guys are kind of gravitating toward this. And I'll show you different ways guys are teeing this up. But Lee uses chat on his website to bring in more leads. And then he also, and that's kind of a low risk way for people to engage your services, makes you sticky. Then he uses to qualify the leads and improve efficiencies, and then just increase customer engagement and bring them along that educational spectrum. He uses virtual chimney assessments. So Lee is one of the hardest working sweeps that I know. He really faces some major headwinds in his market. First, he's in Houston. It's not exactly a strong market for fireplaces and chimneys. In fact, if you own a fireplace in Houston, I would tell you it's probably more of a status symbol than it is a functional appliance. The other thing that Lee kind of is challenged with, he actually has, the oil is the main economic driver in Houston, right? So oil prices are in the tank, and there's thousands of people in the oil field that have been laid off right now, and a lot of those jobs are six-figure jobs. So Lee's facing not only the COVID stuff, but he's also facing a major economic downturn in his local market. So Lee's had to become very aggressive at leveraging all of his assets to keep his business viable. So Lee, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Would you go ahead and share your screen, and then kind of walk us through how you use the educational spectrum to engage your customers, how you use chat, how you use virtual assessments.
Thanks, John. I really appreciate it. Just to give credit where credit's due, because I never have original ideas. 18 months ago, this was a Jerry Eisenhower idea. He kind of birthed it. And then I'd like to thank Spark and mostly Tiffany, because I'm constantly calling her and having all kinds of crazy ideas, and she listens to me and doesn't berate me too much. But one thing that happened to me during all this COVID and oil turn down is the phones went in the tank. I don't know how many of you other people are like us, but one thing that happened is our web traffic went way up. So I was looking for ways to capture some of that. And if you look at my screen down in the right corner, this is web chat. This is Aisha in my office. but it's not, before I know we used to use home service chats. A lot of people did, we did too. And then it got sold to Ruby Receptionist, and then rates went up and service went down. But this is someone in our office. And I do this through Talk To, which you can put on your website for free. There's a couple things that you can pay for, which is you see at the bottom where it says Lord's Chimney. That says powered by Talk To, unless you pay, and I forgot, it's like $10 a month or something like that to brand it to your website. Also, I pay to have video chat and the phone, so I can literally talk to people through my chat. But the whole idea in this is, like last week, I'm just gonna put up round numbers. We had close to 2,500 people on our website. And my thought was, if we're only getting 40, 50 calls into the office, or whatever number you're having, if I could just close 1% of the 2,500 people that are going to my website, that's huge numbers. So kind of out of desperation, you got to go with, because if the phones aren't ringing, there's nothing to sell. So that's what I did, is this whole chat thing is to capture as many of those people on your website as possible. And I think of my website as a showroom. If someone walked into a showroom and no one said hi, no one said anything, how engaged would you be? How long would you stay there? This is a way for us to say, you know, when they walk into the showroom, hey, hello, thanks for coming. What can we do for you? So we have not quite perfected the conversion rate that I'm liking. We're shooting for 1%, which I know there's people who do even better than that. But chat is a big part of what we're doing. Also, if you look in, there's this big thing that says free virtual chimney assessment. If you click on it, you come and you see my ugly mug as a video. But that's a video that explains basically the virtual assessment going on. And I've done this into 2 phases. Phase 1 is down here, which is put in your name, put in your phone number, put in your email address. I don't like to put a ton of questions because you want to keep barriers to entry. The more complex it looks, the less likely people are going to fill out forms. But here's where you can upload pictures. And below it, I put a couple pictures of what I want to see, which is the inside of the firebox, kind of through the damper, up the flue, the front of the fireplace where you can back up, where I can see from the floor to the ceiling, and outside where I can see from the ground to the top. And what I figured out is with these 4 pictures, I can see a lot of stuff. Now, if you go down here or up here a little bit, come on, you will see our disclaimer. And it's very in depth with, this is not a chimney inspection. It is a virtual assessment. It's not a fire worthiness. There's nothing to try to get all the liability off of us. But as you get more experience in this industry, or you guys who are a ton more experienced than me, with these 4 pictures, you can see a lot. You can see mold, you can see water goes, you can see inside the firebox, you can see a lot. You can see all kinds of stuff. So once they upload their pictures, at the bottom, I have a schedule. This, and let me just click on it for tomorrow, you can actually schedule an appointment. And this is linked in, it's Calendly, which is linked into Zoom. So as soon as you click on one of these, and let me just click on it just to, you can confirm your appointment, and it's gonna set up a Zoom appointment. And then it also integrates in with my Google Calendar and puts that appointment on my Google Calendar for me. So this is a way for a customer as step 2 to go in, fill out their, send me some pictures, and then schedule an appointment where I can, with their pictures on the screen, talk to them about what's going on. This is where I try, because I have a really big market, and this is a way for me a lot to qualify customers. I have tons and tons of people calling in for free estimates. And with this, I can give them a budget range so that I don't waste my time going out. Because if this is going to be $4,500 to $6,000 and they're in the market for something that's about $800, it doesn't make sense to actually spend the money and the time to go out to a customer's house, especially now, because we're being very, very efficient, to waste time doing that. So it's a way for us to leverage that. And as you go through here, it really works. The next step in the process is the virtual assessment at a customer's house, which means we go out to the customer's house. A lot of times we don't even see the customer. We can get up on the roof, we can take pictures. We can even, Tom Irvin's been really good about teaching us how to scan from the top with batteries, put it together, and sometimes then have a Zoom meeting from either inside the customer house with them in another room, or across the room, or out in the customer's car. or out in our car, just talking with a customer, putting it together. This is also a great way when customers are calling to interrupt that cycle of, I'm getting 3 bids. Because it's real easy to establish a relationship via Zoom, face-to-face, show them, give them value, and they're naturally going to value your opinion more. But it did a very, very good job with kind of, we're able to offer free stuff over the phone and provide value to a customer in our community in order to get more opportunities and also be more efficient. So that's the 2 things that I wanted to explain today, which is the virtual assessment and also online chat to try to get more leads. And I'm kind of a numbers guy. So one thing I wanted to show you, if you have 20 people, 500 people a week come into your website and you close just 1% of them. So you got 25 calls. If your office is then closing half, you got 12 extra appointments a week. If you're averaging, and I'm just going to put a round number to make this easier, $500 an appointment, you just added $62.50 to your top line revenue. And that's with no more marketing except for someone who's probably, and at least in our case, there's not a whole lot of phone calls to answer. So they have time to really grind on online chat. But anything you can do to make you more efficient with less money is number 1 in my book.
I like it. You were saying that you had a number of like in your market, sometimes the traffic patterns, even it takes a couple hours to get across town. So this is a great way for you to kind of engage them at a level before you kind of run around. And you were saying the other thing I thought was interesting. You said 50% of your billable hours are tied up in travel. And that's, I mean, I've been to Houston, the traffic down there is crazy. So I know you got a lot of headwinds down there. This is a great way for you to kind of engage customers. So since you've been doing this the last 18 months, have you seen an increase in your business because as a result of it?
Yeah, we have just the online chat. They're like free customers. We've also been very successful with expanding our service area a little bit, just trying to get more customers in, and via Zoom meetings and online chats, being able to go to have more travel time with kind of pre-approved ranges. And then when we get there, we can firm up the bid and maybe even do an inspection to figure out what's going on. But if we have guaranteed revenue, I'm willing to travel a little more.
Nice.
And can I ask as well, Lee, what percentage are you feeling that you have to go and do like an on-site verification versus that you're able to actually do just from the conversation of the pictures that they sent?
We always do. I mean, we quote ranges over the phone. And the more unsure or the worse the pictures are, obviously the wider the range. But we always go out and firm up the bid before we even start. Just because you want the customer to have a rock solid price. But if you can get a no more than X range with what I can see, customers are more likely to invite you in and your closing rates are going to go way up.
For sure.
So when you get there, you'll run the camera, you'll do a complete level 2. You may even look at some of the other flues or vents, maybe the dryer vents, see what other problems you can solve. Got to get your okay on that. And then you can give them a tight price right there. So how many times when you go there from a virtual assessment, are you able to upsell them onto other things?
Always.
Okay,
I mean,
good.
Everybody knows anytime there's a water leak, there's interior flue issues quite often. But a lot of times even you find stuff and then you end up doing the water leak work and then there's money in the bank in the future. As far as that's when getting forward scheduling or memberships and going back year after year gives you opportunity after opportunity to do the next phase. Because we bid a lot of things in phase 1, phase 2, meaning let's fix the leak first because that's the actual problem. And then the results of the problem are the interior repairs, which may come second or maybe it's all at once.
So just a couple of questions that came in I want to address right now. So what are the demographics of, I mean, how many people are in your market? What's the total size of Houston and greater area that you're servicing?
I think Houston's like the 3rd biggest city in the United States.
So it's a pretty good size. What are you
It's
talking,
huge.
a couple of million? 4 or 5
more than
million,
that.
I would guess.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's huge. That's all I know. And in
So you
space,
gotta
as far as
travel.
space,
And it's
Yeah,
it's a big surface area too, you know. A big
yeah,
square
the
mile.
Houston metro market, our whole market is bigger than Connecticut, just our city.
Crazy.
So are you using chat only during operational hours, or are you using it using the app during closed hours too?
Right now, only during operational hours, but our PPP money just came in. So we're going to start to actually experiment with nights and weekends and stuff like that while the government's paying us to try it.
You know, what I love about what you do is that you are not afraid to try stuff, and you're always tweaking on things, and you're watching your numbers. And I really appreciate that about you, because, you know, you're in a market where it's a tough market. I mean, you probably have one of the toughest markets in the country. Not only do you have, you know, a very warm climate, you also have the oil issue and the COVID issue. And but yet you keep working hard and you keep making adjustments, doing a lot of testing, A/B testing, and to see what works. And you're just, you know, just making those small incremental changes in your business, and that's what's kept you viable. So, are you charging on the phone? Are you charging for virtual assessments? How are you doing that?
We do it for free. It's just a matter of time. We do it for free. They schedule an appointment. We meet them on the appointment. We verify a range based on what we can see, and then we go out to the customer's house. Sometimes you even we've even disqualified customers where, you know, we see something that's obviously $2-3 grand and they're thinking 200. So there's no point in driving to our market an hour and a half across the city for someone that's not even, and our employees, our technicians on the field, it's helped them a lot because they don't have to go into those totally FUBAR type appointments where we're not on the same page at all.
For those of you that don't know, Lee's an ex-veteran, so FUBAR is a military term. We won't tell you what it means. So, hey, Alan, would you kind of roll into kind of what you're Lee? We'll get back to you in a minute. There might be some more questions. Again,
so I told that Steve Pietala asked. I think you're gonna, if you want to address this, John, you're going to give a resource document at the end that has the websites, all that he's talking about.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I've put together a resource document that you'll get at the end. It'll have links to you know, the various marketing companies that have been helping guys tee this up. Some of the tools they're using, like Zoom, Jitsi Meet, Stream, and a link to the chat feature that he uses and that Lee's using. And then I've also included in the resource document some links to various websites and how some of the guys are teeing this up. Everybody seems to be doing it differently, and I want to show you the different ways guys are doing this. It's still kind of the Wild West out there, so I don't really know. You know, I can't really say, you know, nobody's really said this is the best way to do it. It works 10 times better than the other way I was doing it. Although the one I would tend to model my business after would be Lee, since he's been tweaking on it the longest. So, and then also I've included those state orders and requirements for closures. So, you know, I'll show you that at the end here too. So if you want to, so this is a good question. Before we go on to Alan, I want to just, Lee, I want to bang on you for just a little bit more. The assessment, the office personnel, are you using a tech, or how are you engaging people? Are you doing all the virtual assessment yourself? Are you having techs do them? Are you having techs answer the chat when they get into more detailed discussions, or how are you handling that?
We've tried all of it. I've made all the mistakes. I mean, for 18 months, I've done stuff that hasn't worked, adjusted. What we have right now is we have one of the office people answering the chat, and we've gotten more and more creative trying to get better engagement. One of the things is letting them know you're actually a human, that you're not talking to a computer. That's kind of important. And we've used stuff like, hi, I'm an actual human that's stuck at home and I need someone to talk to, you know, stuff like that. You're just trying everything. I've tried to video chat suddenly with customers. That doesn't work out so well. People don't appreciate it.
Creeps them out a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little creepy. Also, another mistake I've made is because to chat, you can see what page of their website you're on, and you can see them clicking from page to page to page. So I've tried to ask them about questions about the page that they're on. But if you're constantly sitting 4 and 5 and bugging them, it's like going to a showroom and saying, no, I'm good, I'm looking around. And then someone continually is asking, well, you have a question on that? You have questions on that? So I've made a lot of mistakes, and we're still perfecting it. But yeah, we're now that PPP money is in for us too. Our technicians are going to start experimenting with it. We're going to see what's a viable product. Is this something where a technician may chat and then go to the home and have that continuity? So we're going to start experimenting with a whole bunch of stuff to see numbers-wise what really works.
Nice. Well, maybe we have to have another follow-up to this in a couple months or something. Alan, would you kind of walk us through what you're seeing out there in the field? I know Alan is the proprietor of Rush Profits. Alan does a lot of ride-alongs with guys, so he's seen a lot of changes in the way people are presenting their findings, and just kind of share with us what you're seeing out there as far as how people are using technology, both on the consumer side and the sweep side. And what's
Is my screen on okay, John? Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it, yeah.
So I got to first thank my lovely assistant for these images, my wife here, and she's staying on the other side, so I got to embarrass her a little bit. She did some acting for me, and but this is exactly what our customers are doing. And Lee hit a lot of the big points, but what I wanted to do was hit the three main ways that we're using virtual technology right now in the home. So the first one is just discovery. So once you're in the home, the thing that I've definitely been noticing is there's and we talked about this a couple weeks ago, there's all different levels of comfort zones right now with customers. Some people, they don't even want to be there. They don't want you there when you're there. Some people are fine with 6 feet. Some people are fine shaking your hand and giving you a hug. So I think that we have to be the responsible party, as we talked about before, and we have to maintain social distancing. So in the discovery, one of the main things that we've been doing, hopefully if you're not doing this, you're involving your customers in the Chim scan. This is one main way that we've been using virtual technology, is we've been having people in the room next door, and we're actually Zooming or FaceTiming the Chim scan, the Loeffler, the whatever system, that GoPro that you're using, so they can be a part of the live scan, even though they may not be in the room. Because it's really critical to involve the customer in that part of the process. The big thing, and Lee hit on this, and this is something we just started doing in the last couple of weeks, and we've had tremendous success with it. Like I'm honestly, even the older generation, some of that, they're adopting to Zoom and GoToMeeting, and some of these softwares way better than I really would have predicted. So what we've been doing is going through our entire discovery process, and then literally sitting in the same room with the customer, not technically at the kitchen table, but they're 6 to 10 feet away from us. We hand them our iPad. We use our phone to, of course, we disinfect it, right? We use our phone to Zoom to our iPad, and we literally just have a conversation face to face without using the camera, without using the audio, but we're just flipping through photos. So that allows us to maintain that 6 feet of social distancing, but also solves the problem of sitting at the kitchen table. For those some people are just not comfortable with that. They don't want you in the home period. And if that's the case, we've been doing the same thing, but we've been doing it remotely. So sometimes we'll go out to the truck. We'll do the Zoom meeting right from the truck. Sometimes we'll set it up, and then we'll wait for the spouse to get home, and we'll do it at the end of the day or the next morning. But the nice thing about Zoom is if you put all your discovery pictures, your inspection report, your proposal in one customer folder on your Photos app on your iPad, you can just share that one folder. So it makes it real easy to give a presentation to the client of all the things that you found. So I'm glad I put this note in here to remind me, is that I was talking with one of my clients yesterday, and I told him I would bring this up, that he did this exact process with one of his customers, that they started off doing an exterior inspection, but the customer did not want to do a face-to-face presentation. So they came back, set up a meeting with the husband and the wife over Zoom, and they ended up closing a $72,000 sale, just like this, like we're doing today. So the fact that people are, one, using this technology, and two, purchasing from it is fascinating. A couple quick notes on this slide. Sabre Systems is a great company if you haven't heard of it. They put out all these resources for you. So these diagrams that you'll see in the bottom left, in the middle, these are things that are available on different resources they have on their resources page. And diagrams are magical whenever you are doing a virtual assessment or a presentation with the customer so that they can visualize fireboxes, smoke chambers, draft, parging, things that otherwise may be difficult to explain without a visual. In the top left corner, you notice I've got a software there. It's completely free to use. It's the third thing on this link called Annotable, A-N-N-O-T-A-B-L-E. You can pay 10 bucks and unlock all the features, but basically it allows you to zoom in, draw arrows, circle, and you can edit a photo in as little as 10 seconds. So if you're on a virtual conversation with somebody and you want to point their attention to something, then you can easily do that. So I'm going to hit a couple of these other slides real quick and we'll take questions. But everything that we've been seeing in the news, right, is about flattening the curve and staying safe. Well, in business, our goal, as I see it, is to widen the curve, right? It's how do we think differently? And there's this group of audience out there that currently will not do business with us because we're scared. They're scared. They're afraid for us to come into the home. So the more that we can approach them in a way that they want to be approached, whether that's virtually, through web chat like Lee's doing, through sharing emails, photos, go-to-meetings, Zooms, the more likely we're going to gain that market share in a time where our competition's not doing those things. So when you really think about it, if exactly the way that John's intro was, people are home right now. The number 3 objection that people get is, I need to talk with my spouse. I mean, if you're on this webinar, I promise you, if you've given a proposal, someone has said, that sounds good, I need to talk to my husband, I need to talk to my wife. Well, they're there now. So we're not getting that, and we can present to them. So if you're willing to do things that your competition is not, then you're going to be in good shape. The main thing that I try to get across to people that are, if you're advertising on your website or you're doing virtual chat, is we know that the problems are water issues most of the time if it's exterior, right? John and Mark and some of you guys came up with the very successful We Fix Leaky Chimney campaign that a lot of people still use today. But it's not that they know it's a leak. They always call us because they notice something else, right? A brick has spalled or missing, some mortars missing. Hopefully it's not as bad as this picture here where usually we got yellow staining, but if it's already showing mold. These are the things that you should be advertising and promoting on your website. And then when you get them on chat or get them on a face-to-face Zoom meeting, that you say, not only can I solve that symptom for you, but we need to really solve the problem. And so the thing that, if you've been through any of my trainings, or if anybody on here has been through my trainings, they know that I'm all about the quote, the big 3. And that's just explaining to the customer what it is we're looking at. This is mold on your ceiling. And then how did that happen? Well, that's due to water penetration. And then, what happens if we don't address the actual problem? I can replace this ceiling all day long and I can get rid of this mold right now, but if I don't solve the water problem, it's going to be right back. So this is 101 stuff for you guys, but for the customer, they call you and say, hey, come give me a quote on 2 bricks that are missing from my chimney. In their mind, that's, $100, right? Well, we know if we don't solve the water problem, then not only are we replacing those 2 bricks, we're going to be coming out every year and replacing more bricks. So the point of this is use your chat, use your virtual to convert the customer from a symptom to a problem, and then let them know that you're there to solve the problem. I love Lee's method of being able to qualify that if they thought this was a $100 brick repair and he's having a conversation saying, look, yeah, we're going to fix those bricks, but if you don't take care of this crown or, the tuck pointing, whatever needs to be done, then, you're going to continue to have bricks. That may be completely out of their scope that they're ready to do, and he just saves some time. So the last 2 slides on here, this is my absolutely most favorite image I've come across on the internet right now is Mona Lisa with her sanitizer and her face mask and her toilet paper hoarding is just beautiful. But my wife and I were talking about this, that anytime your arm hurts or you get a little bit of a cough or anything happens, you go to WebMD and you always go to the worst case scenario. It's like, oh no, I've got cancer or I'm dying or whatever the case is, and usually it's just you got a head cold. Well, customers sometimes do the same things when they see major problems. They see bricks coming off on their chimney, they see water on their ceiling, they automatically they react in a very strong way. And so if they have someone that they can reach out to now when not everyone's available, all of a sudden you become a partner for them, and you've been able to kind of walk them off the ledge a little bit to educate them that that symptom is because of this problem. And so if you can let them know that, hey, yep, that is a big issue. We need to take care of it. It should be taken care of now, or you know what, that's a non-essential issue that we can take care of for you in the coming months when everything's back to normal. We don't need to put you or our employees at risk for that level of repair. And so it's just being there for your customers. The last thing is one of my, this quote, I literally had never heard this before, and I loved it. And it says, if your presence doesn't add value, your absence won't make a difference. And I just thought that was so powerful that we got to be there for our customers. And there's been this trend in the last 5 years of, do I do free estimates? Do I not do free estimates? I actually did a class 5 years ago on our training platform that I was like, why would you ever do anything for free? Why would you ever go out and give away the farm? And I was very much against it. And then in the last 2 to 3 years, after seeing real numbers of what happens when we have a true estimating position that builds value, it's a no-brainer to me. I've done a complete 180 on that position. So now we're in a new phase of this, of not only are we doing free estimates, we're doing free assessments, and we're doing those virtually. So from a mindset perspective, it's very easy to say, why do I want to be another guy that sends an email quote or does a quote over Zoom when they're going to call 3 other people and they're just going to go with the lowest price? Well, that was the same mindset that people had years ago when they started doing free estimates. If you're just giving them a number for a product, then you will lose, I guarantee it, because you're going to be more expensive. But if you can add value and you can explain why you're the expert that is going to, not only, who cares what the product is, you're going to solve the customer's problem. If you can position that, then the price is not going to matter. You're their problem solver. So the question you had to ask is, how are you going to be your partner to your prospects in the time that they need you the most? How are you going to communicate to them in a way that they want to communicate with you? And know that right now they really don't want you in their home for the most part. And so you've got to find ways to adapt. And the last thing here is that we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but if you are waiting for this to go away, if you're waiting this to go back to the way it was before February, you're going to be waiting for years. So you don't have a choice. If you are going to be in business and you are going to excel and grow your business, you have to adopt these virtual processes, or you're going to be left behind and you're going to be put in the dust. So one of the things I know John's going to go over, I won't steal his thunder here, is every customer you add right now that you otherwise wouldn't have added. Lee used the example of 1 to 2% more on his website that he wouldn't have without chat. If you take all those little buckets of things and say, this is a percentage of business that if I didn't do these things virtually that I wouldn't have got, and then you look at the lifetime value of that customer, you're going to be shocked at how much money you're potentially leaving on the table for a minimal investment to make these things happen. So that's what I got, and I appreciate everybody coming today. You're on mute, John.
Sorry about that. Alan, thank you. That was very informative. I appreciate your wisdom and insights into this. Just seeing a lot of stuff going on out there in the field, and I think it adds a lot of value to what's going on, with the mindset of our customers right now. Can you stop sharing your screen, and then I'll jump back on here.
Sure.
There's a couple questions that came in, Alan. One was one guy, I believe is John White, said that he's been having a lot of closing business on Zoom. And do you recommend that both the husband and wife be on the Zoom call? I would imagine, that's kind of sales 101, I would think. But
yeah, I mean, that's how we're avoiding those spouse objections, is by getting them both on the phone. And one of the things that, this becomes most people are on commission these days. So one of the things that we always challenge, and it goes back and forth, is what is the level of that we're asking of our technicians. Right now, we are seeing more and more after hours meetings. After 5 o'clock, when we get done with the end of the day, we're setting these up, or maybe first thing in the morning before we start our day. That becomes a personal decision for the business owner and the technician to decide, hey, am I willing to put in an hour or two after work to make some extra money? Hopefully, if they're bought in, yes, they absolutely will. Otherwise, working within the hours of the business. But most of the time, these are happening, after between 5 and 7 o'clock is where a lot of these Zoom meetings are starting to occur.
So let me show you a couple of, let me bring in, this is Robert Tubb. I wanted to show you, so Robert uses we talked about Spark. Robert uses Brandtastic for his website. I'm going to click on Robert's website and show you how he tees it up. He's teeing it up a little differently. And so I'm going to take the next couple minutes and just walk you through some of the guys that are, and how they're teeing up their virtual assessment. So I'm going to click on, Robert's got a lot of good reviews there. Good job, Robert. And so I just hit his website and you see something comes up because it calls it's easy assessment. Robert, just tell us, okay, there's his easy assessment, pops up after a few seconds. So Robert, just jump on there and tell us about your easy assessment and how what was your thinking process about adding that to your service? And it's a little different than a virtual assessment. This is, well, tell us what it is, Robert.
Well, the idea was more and more people, may not want you in their home with everything going on. So it was just an added way to assure people that we can look at their chimney without actually having to go in their house if they didn't want us to, without having to be face to face. And so it just allows us to look at their chimney, and we have it set up so that whether they're on their phone or their desktop, they can see what we're seeing, as we're seeing it. And if they want to interact and talk to us, we have it set up that way as well.
So what Robert's doing, just so we're clear, Robert basically, when he's on the roof, and sometimes you get a little bit of wind noise and that doesn't always work, but so you can send the customer a link. I think he uses Jitsi Meet. You could use Zoom, any video chat service. And he just kind of shows them what he's seeing on the chim scan, shows them the issues that he's seeing. So they'll be down in their house. He's doing the inspection above the roof line, showing them the flashing the crown, the missing mortar, all the things that you see out there. And then he's kind of walking them through, as he's doing that, he's kind of talking them through some of the issues that he's finding. So when you hit his website, it pops up. And then Robert also is offering virtual assessments. You can see how he's teed it up here. It's just a real simple way for him to engage his customers that way. So thank you, Robert, for sharing that. I want to show you, next I want to show you Jake Loeffler, Brickliners. So I'm going to hit his website. So Jake, just tell us, just add some color to this, and you'll see in a minute, he'll see his, so we're open for business. He talks about, some of the things he's doing now to kind of protect people in their homes, his zero contact service system or in-home sanitary technique. Then he talks about virtual chimney assessment. So Jake, just add a little color about what was your thinking process and why did you add this to your website recently, and what do you expect will happen as a result? So.
Yeah, thanks, John, for having me. We've unofficially been doing virtual chimney assessments really during the busy season, and we'd do it for the same reason Lee was talking about. We didn't want to just kind of pre-qualify people so you didn't have to drive out an hour to go see something that is not worth your time because you're trying to be efficient, especially during the busy season. So obviously with the COVID, Spark had reached out, sent out an email and said, we're ready to put a virtual chimney assessment link onto your website. And I was like, hey, well, there's really no reason why we wouldn't. We haven't had a ton of experience with it, but I think as the year progresses, or depending on your schedule, a lot of the time we've asked the customer to just send us a few pictures of their chimney so that we can take a look at it. And typically the office girls were doing that. And then, I'd get it in an email. We'd do the same thing, kind of do a virtual assessment, tell them what we think it might need and a price range. So that's unofficially. Now it just seems like it's on the website. You can't ignore it. It's very easy. As you can see, you click on it, they upload some pictures. It takes really no time at all to assess what the pictures are. At the very least or most, we'd have to ask them for more pictures. Got a video on there explaining briefly what we're expecting of them. And I think, again, as time goes on, it's going to be very helpful. And I think the customers appreciate that we're at least trying to do that for them because, some, like you guys said, some people are freaked out, and others, you know, they'll want to give you a big hug. So why not? Why would you not put a virtual chimney assessment on your website? It's really not going to hurt.
Thanks, Jake. I love the way Jake's teed this up. He's got just a down and dirty quick video that he shot in his car, just a straight through, hey, just chatting with his, you know, with his customer. I also like, he's got great examples of how he's teed this up, you know, what photos he needs. And then, you know, it's an easy way to kind of upload those. So I like the samples that he has here. Next, I want to show you a couple more websites. How a couple of different guys are teeing this up. So let's go to CNC Chimney. This is Richard Tattershaw. He's in the Tulsa area. And what Richard does is a little different. So now offering virtual, we're open, you know, all the wonderful things we do. Virtual, he is now offering virtual chimney assessments. So what Richard does is he tees this thing up so you can get, basically what he does is he asks you to schedule a virtual assessment. So he doesn't really ask for pictures up front. He's just basically scheduling a Zoom meeting, and then the customer does the Zoom meeting on their phone, and he can say, hey, you know, we're doing all these awesome things, and this is what we do to protect you and your family. These are all the things, you know, that we do. And so you can go right to Calendly. You can schedule an appointment with him, confirm that appointment, and schedule the event. So it's just kind of he doesn't even ask for pictures. He's just saying, hey, you want to talk to me? Let's talk. Here's the dates I'm open. And looks like he's using Tuesdays and Thursdays as office days. And you can probably and he schedules them every 30 minutes. So you probably wouldn't have back-to-back ones. But I talked to him a couple weeks ago, and he said he was getting some traction with it. And it's a great way to kind of give a price range. Most recently gave the guy a price range. The guy said, yeah, that doesn't sound bad. I understand, you know, I can't give you an exact price till I get out there and see it, but the guy wasn't freaked out about the price when he got there. He sold some other stuff, looked at some other stuff, you know, another chimney. I can't remember exactly what he sold, but he was able to sell him some, you know, some other things that he needed by looking and finding other problems that the homeowner had. And the guy got it all taken care of all at once. So that was pretty cool. And then I also want to show you another website here, Leonard & Sons. I like the way they teed it up. And so they've now offering, you know, virtual assessment. So you click there. So a lot of guys are using pop-ups when they go to their website. And then one of the things I liked about the way they teed it up is they show the pictures and they give a description. And they also, they're in Chicagoland. And so a lot of times they'll see other appliances that may be attached to the same chimney. So they want to see tags on those appliances and connector pipes as well. The other thing is I thought was interesting is they're asking for measurements. What's the width of your fireplace building? What's the height of the fireplace? What's the depth of the fireplace? You know, they want to know, in their market, they have 2 different size bricks that are commonly used. So they want to know, you know, the different size bricks. So these guys do a lot of masonry work. And so they're really, you know, and so I talked to Caleb Martinez and Rich Martinez. They own Leonard & Sons, great technicians. They said they were able to do, you know, like a lot of times they just had it up, like most of the guys I talked to just in the last 30 days or so, but they were able to do you know, rather than going out there, I got a call from a real estate company or a realtor trying to close a house deal. There were some issues. They were looking for, you know, how much you're going to hold out in escrow to get those issues fixed. He was able to get enough information, a good enough price to get that done. So they would, you know, so they could get the transaction done without having to go out there. Otherwise, you know, if he went out there, he would have ran out there. They were just looking for a number to throw in the escrow account, and he wouldn't have gotten any work. But he was able to do that virtually in just a few minutes from the data that he got. And so that helped tremendously. So I want to show you, let's see, these. So let me show you the resource document that I put together. And as we've talked through this, I'm going to add some things to this. Let me, what did I do? Let me, hold on a minute. So here's the resource document that I put together. So we got a lot of questions and asking about, you know, what companies are helping them with this, what links and what tools are they using? So Brandtastic and Spark have been teeing this up for a lot of guys. A lot of guys are using Zoom. Some guys are using Jitsi Meet. I believe Robert uses Jitsi Meet. There's another product that I found that Alan told me about that one of his customers found, and it's called Stream.pro. And if you'll see here's a link to a video. This is a really interesting technology. This is basically like Zoom on steroids. It gives you augmented reality. So you can actually draw pictures. You can on the screen, and the homeowner sees it on their end. You send them a link. You initiate it similar to a Zoom meeting. It's very simple, clean technology. The other thing that's interesting about this is it shows you what the customer sees. You're using the customer's camera, so you're actually getting HD quality images. This software is a couple $100 a month, but I think it's worth looking into. If you get a lot of traction with these things, I think that would be a good way to go. Lee uses Talk.to. There's a link there. There's a link to all the websites that I just showed you. And I would encourage you, before you set this up, go out and look at a half a dozen websites, see what you like and don't like about different ways guys are teeing this up, and kind of pick a way that feels right to you and start there. The other thing, Alan, you mentioned something called a Notable, and I'm going to add that link to it. And then also, people were asking about where they can get those images for their sales presentations, and I'll put the Chimney Saver link on there, so you can get a link to the images on our website, so you can pull those off if you want. They can be very valuable in making sales presentations because they're diagrams. And the other thing I wanted to point out here is the state. These are the closure orders. Now, we talked about this a couple weeks ago on the webinar that I did, but so if you click these, this is the Ogletree Deacons. This is the attorney that we had on a couple weeks ago. So this tells you whatever state you're in. It tells you what the closures orders are. So let's look at I don't know. Let's look at Colorado. So you go to Colorado. It tells you what's closed, when it opens, blah blah blah. That's very helpful, I think. And then the other
just to be clear, we only see your PDF once you move to a different web page.
Okay. Okay. So can you see it now, Alan?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is basically a resource link for you. This is updated daily. So you just click on whatever state you're in. It tells you, what's opening up when and how it's opening up. Then if you go back, this is another valuable, I think, bit of information because it's moving so much. You can see this is updated May the 6th. This is updated May the 7th. They have attorneys in every state. So this is one place you can go to get all the information you need. So this gives you guidance on a lot of states are requiring when that employers do things, like if you're going to, like, say, resume services or whatever, what they expect you to do, what kind of things that they expect you to do, like if you open up your whatever shop it is or whatever, all the PPPs that are required, what kind of things you're supposed to go over with your employees, and and a lot of states are requiring that you have a COVID plan in place by a certain date. So this is all great resource for you. Again, I'll add those other links, and you should be all teed up. So the next thing I want to do is I want to show you something I call the exponential growth chart, and then we'll wrap this up. So the exponential growth chart we talked about. This is this is a typical chimney sweep company. They might get 320 leads a month. The conversion ratio is 30%. So which means they're booking 96 jobs in a month. Okay, their customer dollar average, again, you get that by taking your total sales last year, divide that by the number of customers that you saw, and you get a ticket average. So the ticket average in this case is $600. So we talked about, let me just zero these out. Lee talked about how he was able to increase his leads by capturing more leads with chat. So let me just zero this out. So if you, and when Lee and I talked, he was actually, percentage-wise, he was actually getting 50% more leads. Even though it was 1% of his web traffic, it was 50% more leads a week just by adding chat. Now, I talked to other guys, they were doing more like 15%. So let's take a low number here. You add chat, you actually use chat, and you get a 15% increase in the number of leads you get. So if you look over here, you see what that changes in revenue, just in this example, is $100,000 just by getting, by tapping the power of chat, engaging the customers early, bring them along the educational spectrum. Then if you, let's say you offer virtual chimney assessments, and you get you get some people to engage on that, you get a 2% increase there. So you can see that now you're getting 110 appointments a month. You increase your conversion ratio. You get a couple more jobs a month. And then let's say you are, when you go there, you're able to, of those people that you just were able to get to, you get another 2% increase in their customer dollar amount. So you get, so instead of $600, you're getting $612. So just making these small incremental changes, see the impact it has on the change in revenue. You're adding $135,000 in this example, or a revenue increase of 20%. So these small incremental changes that you can make, as Lee and Alan both talked about, can have a huge impact on your bottom line. And so right now is the time where we just need to kind of hunker down and take advantage. These are all things that you're already doing. You're already paying for your website. You're just adding, you're just tweaking it a little bit, and you're just, and like Lee does, he keeps adding and tweaking and checking hours, and just kind of, and watch the numbers, and just make these small adjustments in your business can have a huge impact on your bottom line. So let me just close by saying that business has certainly been a little challenging this past month. I think we'd all agree with that. But I'm not really that worried. I'm not that concerned, because in the end, this will all make us better business owners. Times are certainly a little harder than they have been in recent years, but I want to encourage everyone to keep cheering each other on, sharing best practices, learning from each other, caring for each other. This is just an amazing tribe to be a part of. And I know many of you personally. I know that we're a creative, resilient bunch. I know that we are rooted in what I call a culture of honor. And by that I mean that we care about each other. And in the end, we won't just survive, guys. We're going to thrive. And despite the challenges that are going on right now. So going forward, it's not going to be business as usual. Our lives will be marked by social distancing, OCD hand washing, virtual chimney assessments, and zero contact service calls, right? So, these things that weren't on our radar just a few months ago are now kind of what we should expect in the next. So the faster we adapt, I think the better for us all as an industry. And let's not forget our roots. Let's continue to care for each other, build into each other's lives, and live in a culture of honor. So let's allow this recent pandemic, if you will, to make us better and not bitter. So with that, I thank you for your time today. Chuck, would you close us out?
Be happy to. Thank you, Jake, Lee, Robert, and Alan. And a big thank you to John, Meredith. Thank you for partnering again with CSIA and NCSG and hosting another great panel discussion. Hopefully everybody got some value out of this. I know I surely did. Thank all the people who joined us again for this week, for this webinar. It's brought to you again by National Chimney Sweep Guild and the Chimney Safety Institute of America. And it's because our association believes in our members and our credential holders. And we really believe that this is the time to provide value to you and topics that'll create the best return on investment for spending your time with us. Next week, same time, Thursday, 4 o'clock Eastern Standard. The topic is going to be, as our country begins to restart our economy, you're going to need to learn strategies and tactics these industry thought leaders are using to keep their businesses strong and how they plan to come back even stronger. So we're going to have a really strong panel next week of how to tell you how to plan for the future. At the end of this webinar, you're going to be emailed a survey very soon. Please complete that and send it back to us. as soon as possible. That gives us an idea whether the content we did for you today was relevant and what we can do for you in the future. And I want you to remember that CSIA and NCSG are here with you. As I said last week, you ain't heavy, you're a brother. Be safe out there. Thank you and see you next week.